All right, just waiting for some people to tune in. Shut that off. I see a couple people possibly checking in. We're just going to try to have a discussion about Fuji's new announcement of the XPro 3 that came out about a week or two ago at the X Summit, what it means for the XPro line, what the future is going to be, and street photography, most likely what this camera is going to be used for. So if anybody's got any questions that I might be able to answer, it doesn't have to be about that specifically. It could be about anything, anything photography related. Maybe I can help you out, or maybe you can teach me something. So definitely tune in and let's get a discussion going. It is, what time is it? It's like 6:20 over here on the East Coast of the United States, New Jersey. So let's hear from you. Anybody got any feedback on the XPro 3? What are your thoughts? I have the one right here. The original, the OG. Then we have the two. Fantastic cameras. XPro 2. And now the third's coming out. What do you guys think about it? Just waiting for some people to join up. Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's get this going. Cool. We got, hey, what's up, Marcus Anthony and the great Vanzini. Thanks for tuning in. Let me see. What do you think of the flip down screen? So I'm torn back and forth. I love the idea of a flip down screen because I love to shoot from the waist when doing street photography. Going up near the eye is great, but I feel like this draws a lot of attention to you, even though the Fuji XPro line is a very discreet and all black camera for the most part. The new one will be different. But I always liked shooting from from the hip, the waist area, just looking down. To me, it looks like everybody else nowadays. What do we say out on the street? Everybody's on a cell phone. So for me, just to do this with a camera, it doesn't draw any attention. So I feel like that flip down screen, I think, is a total plus for me. I do understand and sympathize how people could be annoyed by the fact that all it will do is flip down in the back, kind of just like, that's it. That's all it's going to give you. I think it'll go here. I think it'll go all the way down like that, but it's not going to turn. It's just going to flip down. What I think they should have done is have a way to make it flip down and then another hinge for it to come up and then lay flat. I think if they had that kind of design, it would have stopped a lot of the belly aching that I hear. But for street photography, I get what they're doing. I think what they're trying to do here is I think they're trying to I heard somebody else say that they're going to go after Leica. Now, I don't think they're going after Leica. I think they're trying to give you a pure photography experience. Now, I know that that's been a cliche thing to say, especially since this come out, but I think they're trying to get you to stay in the moment, to just think about your scene, work, your photography, and not be so concerned about what it looks like on the back. Because the bottom line is we're shooting mirrorless, right? You should see what it's going to look like anyway, regardless if you're using the EVF. There's really no need to chimp on it. And it's, I don't know. I think that that's kind of what they're trying to do. I get it. I totally get it. I understand it. I'm a fan of it. I'm not a real big fan of using my rear LCD anyway, other than to look down. So I'm still awarded that option, but I'm not one of these people that hold it out here and shoot like this. And, I don't do that. So for me, I think it's a win-win. And to be honest, when I review my images, because it's bright sun or whatever, or it's dark, and I don't want to light up my whole face, I usually review them in the EVF anyway. So for me, it's not a big deal. If I want to cheat and chimp a little bit, I usually chimp inside the EVF. I don't shoot out. So for me, I'm not a problem with it. Let me see. The great Vanzini, thanks for checking in. Hey Joe, Fuji and Nikon here. I think it will be too expensive for us casual shooters. Doesn't bother me that much. Does look pretty small for these old eyes. Yeah, I don't have bad eyesight, so I can't. I feel your pain, but it's not anything that I can really comment on. I think they are going to obviously have an adjustable diopter, just like the XPro 2 has. The 1 doesn't. But I think that they need to make this somewhat locking. Maybe a pull out, like on the XPro XT3, where they can adjust and then a push in. I think that alleviates the problems. I think we are going to get a bigger EVF, a larger internal EVF, more magnification, clear, less distortion on the optical as well. So maybe that can help you with your old eyes, your old eyesight. I think it will. It's also going to be a higher resolution and a better color science within the EVF. So I think your tones are going to see more true. I mean, the one thing that I always noticed about Fujifilm, they do have great tones, color tones. But what I would notice is they're known for their JPEGs. And when I'm looking through something in the EVF, when I get it back and I do upload just a JPEG just to see how that film simulation took hold, it just seems it's so contrasty. And I know I can adjust those in the recipes and whatnot, but even still, it's like I have to really work it. I usually shoot raw anyway. A lot of the images that I post are all raw images that have been edited with my special presets or whatever that I like to use. But yeah, the JPEG, I'm hoping that the new EVF will be more true to form, so to speak, true to the actual scene that's laid out in front of me. Do I think it's going to be expensive? Well, where are we at? The Z6 and the Z7 for Nikon, a Z6 I think is high 1700, maybe more. I think we're definitely going to see the XPro 2 drop in price. The XPro 3, here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be any more expensive than the XPro 2 was when it came out. The only thing that I think will make it more expensive is the titanium. And so it's going to be made out of a titanium body, and I think that's expensive material, and I think it's hard to work with, and they said it was. So I think that that's going to make it expensive, but I think what we're also going to see is that when you start adding the Dora finish coat, such as the Dora Silver and the Dora Black, which I have my eye on is the Dora Black, I think when we see that come in, that's going to jack the price up. Now, I think XPro 2s right now what are XPro 2s? $1,600. I'm going to check it out right now. Fuji XPro 2. So, yeah, $1,699 from B&H. $1,799, $1,800. $16.99 is going to drop soon as this goes out. You're going to see that. It's probably going to hit $14.99. XPro. It's crazy because people still say that the XPro 2 is more expensive than the XPro 3, or the XT2 is more expensive than the XT3, which is I don't know. That's crazy. But I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see 1800. I think for the base model. I think if you want a Dura coat or a Dura finish, I think that they're going to sell you on that, and I think they're going to. I think they're going to bring us to close to 2000. You know, we're talking mirrorless here. Where can you go? You can go Sony, which everybody loves and loves to hate all at the same time. I'm a mixed bag when it comes to Sony. I like their pocketability of their little RX100. But some of their A7 series I've been burned on. I've been burned so hard on the A7R. It's failed me so many times. Now, I know that there's new iterations of that. I haven't shot with them. Everybody raves about the A7 III, I believe that it's out, and it's great. But for me, as a photographer at heart, not really a videographer, the Sony system to me always felt more like a computer rather than a camera. I'm sorry if that's blasphemy. I'm the first guy that tells you shoot with whatever you like, just create good images. I really don't care. I don't think it's all about your gear. Sony cameras are gorgeous and they're good at what they do, but I just don't know. I just don't know if I'm a big fan of them. They seem more computerized than photography based for me. Where else can you go when you go with mirrorless? Canon and Sony. I have a Canon EOS R. I just shot with it last night. I love that camera. And with the new software that they just chucked in there, the new firmware update, the focusing is fantastic. I mean, I was shooting little kids running around and, on the beach, and this thing locked on the eyes and it wouldn't let go. It was beautiful. It worked perfectly. Nikon, I haven't shot the Z6. I have a D5. The D5 is going to be going. I'm going to be selling the D5 off. But we have that, and that's a great camera, but I think mirrorless is the future. I think it just makes so much sense, so much more sense when you shoot with a mirrorless and then go back to an optical viewfinder like a DSLR. Mirrorless is just, you're focusing off the sensor. No more need to micro adjust your lenses. I had a horrible time when I had a D810 trying to focus a 70 to 200. It just would not lock. It was always off. So, and so now we're back to Fujifilm. And yeah, it's not a full frame sensor. It is a crop sensor, but that argument's done for me. I mean, the images I get out of the XPro 2, obviously it's the same sensor, but this is one of my all-time favorite cameras, the X100F. Crop sensor. I love this thing. It's the most of the images that I post are from Fuji cameras. Not a Fuji X photographer yet. I'm waiting for my invitation. They keep losing it in the mail. But yeah, man, I'm a big fan of their cameras. So better than I would have thought. I heard a few comments of upwards of 3,000. So 2 or less has my interest. Yeah. How do you justify $3,000? I'm not saying you're wrong. I've heard those things too. But I'm saying as a whole, how can you tell me that a camera that sells for $1,700 new, like the XPro 2 did, okay, you're going to throw some more goodies in there and make me feel good and make me feel like I'm having a pure experience. So maybe that's worth $200-300. And then if you want to sell me on some fancy color scheme, just like they did with the Graphite Edition XPro 2, let's see what that is. So the XPro 2 Graphite, okay. I don't even know if that's an accurate price. XPro 2 Graphite. Okay, so an XPro 2 Graphite with a 23 f2 is $22.99, so $2,300. I don't know that again, I'm sure I can find it without that, and so it's going to drop the price. But you're talking, well, that's like a $400 lens, so that's $1,900 to $2,000. I don't see how, just because if you make it out of titanium and you throw a couple goodies in there, and the goodies that they're throwing in there are not anything that you can't garnish with a software update on the XPro 2. They're giving you, I think, improved focusing, improved, so maybe not that because the processor is going to be different, but it's not like they're giving you IBIS. It's not like they're giving you, I don't think we're getting a different sensor than we have from the XT3. So I think we're having the same sensor, just with a different body style layout. Not so much, but in the back screen. And, different. So is Dura finish and titanium worth $1,000? I don't know. I don't work in Fuji. I don't work at Fujifilm. I'm not Jonas Rask. I'm not, I don't have the inside track like he does. But I just can't see how adding titanium and a fancy finish without $1,000. Maybe two. I don't know. I mean, we're at $2,300 for a graphite XPro 2, which is gorgeous. I think that Dura Black is just going to look amazing. I mean, I've seen things that have that oily can finish, like old blades of knives and even firearms that have that. It's gorgeous. And I think that's what that's going to kind of look like, almost like a graphite XPro 2, but just real, because it's got a different type of finish. I hope it ain't $3,000. $3,000 is not going to make me want to buy one. I can't see spending that over. I have an XT3. I have the which one do I have? I got this. Okay. I have the silver edition XT3. I can't see why I would pay $1,500 more for an XT3 when it comes out, just because of a different finish. And I think Fuji knows that. I think they know that. I think they would be shooting themselves in the foot. They already lost about 50% of the XPro 2 fans by adding what some people call that silly back screen. So now you took half the potential clients away, because they're just like, this is a joke. I'm never going to use that camera. And now you're going to jack up the price so high where you're going to cut out some of the loyal people that want the camera. And now you're going to take that away from them because you're going to jack the price up so high. I can't see them doing that. They could, but I don't know. I can't see it. Let's see. Do we got anybody else checking in? I hope so. We're running out. Hey, I just wanted to take a quick moment real quick and just thank everybody, whether you're tuned in or not. Hopefully that you will and join our conversation. But finally hit 1,000 subscribers, which is small potatoes in the Facebook world, or YouTube world, but it's a pretty big deal. I'm able to now live stream and maybe even, I think, live stream from the phone, I think, is different too. So I hopefully I can push out some more content to you guys and start more discussions. But I was really happy to hit that mark and kind of legitimize what I'm trying to do here, where I just want to bring real discussions. I'm not here to push anybody in any direction on what you should and shouldn't buy. Like I said, I shoot every system under the book. I shoot Fuji, Canon, Nikon, Mamiya, Pentax, Leica, and Contax. I'm looking, I have all my cameras over here on shelves. They're all over the place. But like, I literally have I think almost every, I had Olympus. I don't have them anymore. And I have a Sony. I have GoPros and DJIs and everything under the sun. I'm not brand loyal at all until somebody says that they want to bring me on as one of their photographers, and then I'll be loyal to them. But until then, I'm shooting to get results. So, yeah. What else do we got? Any good questions? We just did, like I said, I put out, congrats, interesting. You have to have a certain number to do live stream. That's a lot of cams. Me too. Old film cams still. Yeah, no, I don't know what, I think there was some kind of thing where I know monetization on YouTube has to be over 4,000 hours of watch time and over 1,000 subscribers. I think when I wanted to try to live stream from my phone or mobile or even from a GoPro, I think it had to be 1,000 users. I know that 1,000 users or 1,000 subscribers, let's say users, subscribers is like kind of like a benchmark for YouTube. So I'm happy that that actually happened. Hello, good to see you live. Thank you. I'm sorry if I totally butchered your name, Yunnan Zhang. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, man, we're talking about Fuji XPro line, the future, where we are now with the system, and any kind of photography, maybe street photography. But back to Vanzini. So yeah, man, I have a ton of film cameras. I love contacts. I love shooting contacts. I don't have a 645. I have a Mamiya 645 AF. I had a Hasselblad. I had a Phase 1 too that I was shooting with a digital back. But I love my Mamiya. It's just, listen, it's a dime a dozen. If that thing breaks, I could fix it real quick. So I'm not really concerned with that. But yeah, I love contacts. I have the M1, the RTS, the RX. I love those cameras. They're like mini little 645s to me. Yunan, good to see you live. Love Fuji and can't wait for the XPro 3, but I will have the X100 for you. Yeah, so let's talk about that. What do you want to see on the XPro 3? What makes you love it so far? I mean, I know you can't wait for it. So what can't you wait for? Because I think a lot of people are criticizing this camera before they've even had a chance to even have hands on or even use it. So what are you looking to see on that? And then we'll jump into that X100 Mark V. And if people don't, I'm sure people know that by now, but if people don't understand what the designation on the X100 FF means, 4th edition. So we had the XPro, the X100, then we had the X100S, X100T. Now we have the X100F. So you can't make 4th and 5th an F. So it's got to be something different. And I think it will be the V, like Yunan said. They only think the flip screen design is bad. Yeah, people do. People are really, I mean, this is like, I couldn't believe the kickback on how many people were ripping the hell out of this camera for having the the flip out screen that the XPro 3 is going to have. I actually did an article, a blog write up on my website, josephdagostinophotography.com. Go to the blogs. I did my whole feeling on the XPro 3 and how I think that, I don't understand where people come from, where they look at it and they say the XPro 3 is unbelievable that they would do that and hide the flip screen. But I don't see anybody screaming down Leica's throat that they made the Leica, is it an MD, where there's no screen at all in the back. I mean, you don't even have an access to flip one down and even check it out. And they don't have an EVF either. They have an optical, and there's no AF. I get it. It's Leica. They're beautiful cameras. They're marvelously engineered. I love them. I had an what did I have? I had a M9P and I had an M6 film camera. They're gorgeous cameras, but they're giving you an experience and nobody's jumping down their back. Or how about their monochrome only? It's not everybody's like, yeah, but you're handicapping the camera. You're handicapping the camera. And why would you handicap the camera that I'm paying money for? I want all the options. I get all that, but I think you have to kind of think a little bit outside the box and say, in this feeling of being handicapped, are you now opening your eyes and studying what's more important in the art of photography. I love shooting with old cameras. I love shooting with cameras that limit me. And the reason why I like to shoot cameras that limit me is because I feel like if I can get a fantastic image or one that I'm proud of out of an older camera, well, then I just became a better photographer. Okay. Now, again, I don't really have any cameras that are that limiting, but I mean, I love, I'm not taking anything away from this camera because this is by all means one of my most favorite cameras. I have an XPro too. I have an XT3, but I love my XPro 1. Okay. My XPro 1, 16 megapixel AF that, you know, is slow as a brick rolling down a driveway. It's horrible for focusing, but the files that come out of this thing are goddamn gorgeous. And I love shooting with this camera. I went to New York. If you look at my other video on YouTube, New York street photography, or Fujifilm, I don't know what I even labeled it, but you'll see it. It's got a city in the front of it. It says New York City street photography. I shot with these two. I brought a 16 millimeter f2, the new 16 2.8, I'm sorry. And I brought a 35-1.4, and this is the 35 f2, but I put a 35-1.4 and I switched them on and off, and I got awesome results. And to be honest with you, some of the XPro 1 images I love even more than I love the XPro 2. So they don't Yunan said they don't understand the logic behind the design. XPro is for daily retro style photography. It's actually very smart to have the flip down screen. You have the LCD when you need. Yeah, I agree. I think it's also going to save the LCD. You're not going to, my XPro 1, I don't, you guys can see that? Look at that screen, man. That screen is destroyed. I mean, you can, I can't even, I don't have a battery. You can hardly even see it. It's so destroyed. And, you know, the XT2, it's okay, but I don't have a screen protector on it. But that's going to save the LCD. And maybe that's a stupid reason, but for me, I don't know, it keeps the camera a little nicer. Yeah, I don't think they understand the logic behind it either. And people are like, well, I can't shoot video with it. Well, dude, you got an XT3 if you want to shoot video. Why does, and this is where I said on my discussion about it and on my blog, is that why must every camera fit every niche of photography? Like, if you buy one camera, it's got to be a jack of all trades. Maybe one camera could just be good at one thing. Go shoot video with a Leica, with the Leica M10. Oh, you can't do that. You can't. But nobody's slamming the M10. So I get really annoyed that, like, this camera has to be good at everything. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be good at everything. It could just be good at one thing, taking photographs, putting you in a mood when you go out and shoot street or portraits or whatever you want to do. And if that elicits you to create great images because you're in a zone, because you're holding a certain type of camera, then it made you a better photographer and you're the better for it. So I hate that garbage. Like, this has to have IBIS. Look, I don't have IBIS on any of my cameras, and I'm not suffering for it. My images are razor sharp. I know my exposure triangle. I know where I can and can't be. ISO noise, throw that out the window. I don't really care about it. So I don't need an extra 3 or 4 stops of light to get a good image, because I want to be able to shoot at 1/20th of a section while I'm running across the Brooklyn Bridge, and I need my IBIS. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it when I had it when I had it in my Sonys. I didn't need it. I don't need it at all. I got better images out of my A6300, and that didn't have it either. So I hate that whole thing. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'll get off here. Great Vizzini. Love the XE3, but still occasionally you want a flip screen. X100 has a good screen. The XT100, yeah. The XE3 is a cool camera. I had it for a hot second. It was a little too small for me. I have an X70. I love my X70, but it would have been great to have a viewfinder on the X70. I wish they would redo the X70, but give me an 18 f2 flat out. I would love to see that. X70 is a phenomenal camera. It's one of my favorites. But yeah, the XE3 is a beautiful camera. But my little Canon Bridge has a clamshell, and I can fold it and rarely look at the screen. Yeah, it's whatever works for you. Why would you want to shoot video on an X Pro? I agree with you, Dawn Kim. Thanks for checking in. I agree with you 100%. Why would you shoot video on an X Pro too? Go buy an XT3. They're phenomenal in video. They do a little fast with the dual pixel AF on Canon. Just smokes everything else out there, I think. Maybe Sony is obviously the real competitor. Fuji's great. It tracks the face really nice, especially if you're using one of the Fuji Crons. Not so much the older style lens, but like this 35 f2 is great. You know, the 35 1.4 that I have on this, it's little hunt. And like you'll notice too, if you're going from the front to the back, you know, Canon is a smooth transition, where Fuji's like, it'll get it and it goes, and then it grabs it. It's too quick. I'm not a fan of the video on Fuji, somewhat. I don't want to, you know, bash the camera, but talking about the X Pro 2, the X Pro 2 is not a video camera. It is a photographer's camera. This thing lives on the street. I keep holding the X Pro 1 because this thing lives on the street. The X Pro 2 is a street photographer's camera, a purist's camera, if that's what you want. It's just gorgeous in every sense of the word. When Fuji designed this camera and made it the way that they did, they just created a phenomenal, I think, a camera that will always go down as one of the greatest designs in cameras. Gorgeous. I don't use the optical viewfinder that much, but you know, let me see. It's really important to understand what a camera can and can't do, contribute to creative process. When there's no issue with the function level, it should also bring some motivation about shooting. Yeah, just like I said before, if that camera makes you feel good when shooting it and when out on the street or portrait sessions or just any kind of creative work, even just, listen, even carrying the camera and you know, having it around your family, if that's what pulls it out for you and allows you to shoot better, then that's the best of everything you can ask. I agree with you 100% there, Yunan, if I'm saying your word correct. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Great Vanzini, I want no video cam. Nikon DF is about the only one, and it's more or less dead. Yeah, I don't know. I know the DF is a pretty funky looking camera, and that kind of, I get that what they were doing there, but I don't know how the focusing is. I know the focusing on my Nikon D5 is atrocious. It's horrible. You have to manually focus it and lock it and leave it. You can't AF with that camera on video. It's garbage, absolute shit to try to focus with that camera. You're talking about a $6,400 camera now. You know, they're cheaper. And I'm actually selling that one because ever since I started shooting my Fujis and my Canon EOS R and using that predominantly for all my event work, my D5 sits. I brought it to a wedding last weekend. Didn't even pull it out of the thing. It sat in the box, sat in my case the whole time. So why would you want to shoot video? We already said that. Dawn Kim, it works as it encourages people to focus on the shot, not peek at their. Yeah, I hate that. I just hate chimping altogether. I don't mind like one little chimp just to make sure, like, okay, I like the way the light is going here. But again, with the EVF now, where we're talking about mirrorless, I mean, it's a non-issue anymore. It's really just useless to kind of chimp on a mirrorless camera. You're seeing it before you shoot it. I get with opticals. I get with the, you know, a D810, a Canon Mark IV. You know, you shoot and you're like, all right, am I dialed in? Are my shadows where I want to go? Do I need to, do I need to overexpose it by, half a stop to bring up some of the shadows? I got to bring it down to save highlights. I get it for an optical. You're always going to have those people, but it's like you're chimping on you're looking at something you already looked at. Again, you're wasting time. I turn image preview completely off on all my cameras. Number one, it shoots faster. Number two, I don't want that stupid thing, coming up in my face all the time while I'm trying to shoot. And it's like, oh, their image. Yeah, great, thank you. I don't need the help. But no, I agree with you. Yeah, my Mamiya C330 doesn't have IBIS. Yeah, again, where are we at? I love shooting film. I shoot film all the time, more so for personal projects, because when I'm out trying to shoot like a wedding, it's me and my business partner, and we're both main shooters. I don't have an assistant, and I don't have a second shooter, where if I had a second shooter and I was like, listen, I want you just to cover this, maybe I could. I brought out my Canon, what I have, an EOS 1V. I love that Canon EOS 1V. It's a gorgeous film camera, but I shoot these film cameras more or less for, my personal preference. I do love film though. When I get my scans back, I use Richard Photolab. When I get back my scans from Richard's, man, I'm just blown away. Not that I'm an amazing film photographer, but it's just nice to know that you're exposing correctly and that you're dialing in your photography. If you can shoot film well and you can get good images on film, there is no excuse for digital. I think some people rely too much on Lightroom and manipulation and Photoshop or, Capture One to save them. Like, stop trying to save your ass with editing and just learn how to shoot and what you need to do properly, and you'll get it. And where are we at? Leica made a great job motivating people to shoot, and now Fuji's doing the same job. While Canon, Nikon, and Sony are crazy about promoting their monsters to naive customers and stealing money. You said it. I didn't say it. I don't know that they're stealing money. I do not like sometimes how Canon will handicap their cameras. Nikon, I love the way that their cameras are laid out. I always like their ergonomics, but I wasn't crazy about their colors. They tend to push green in a warm sense a little bit too much for me. I don't know if I'm even describing that correctly. I always had a real hard time getting my colors exactly what I wanted them to be. Now, when I shoot digital, more so for weddings than anything else, I like to emulate like a Fuji 400H light and airy, or I like a Portra 400, or sometimes Ektar, and I just could never dial it in correct. And to be honest with you, I have some hard times dialing in the XT3 more so than the XPro 2. The XPro 2 dials in real nice. This, I gotta work with it a little bit more in order to get it where I want it, but it comes out. But yeah, I do like how Leica did the same route, where they're like, hey man, we're Leica. We're from Germany. We don't give a shit about how you feel. This is our camera. People can bash Leica all they want, but Leica has a history. They have a heritage. They have a strong lineage when it comes to photography, and you can't slam Leica. You can't do it. They're not making any apologies, and they're not trying to be something that they're not. They're like, this is what we are. You want autofocus? Okay, we'll give you this camera and like this camera and maybe that one, but all the rest, you're gonna have to do the work yourself. Sorry, no, not really. Buy the camera. Oh, and by the way, I want $6,000 for it. Oh, and you want a lens? Give me another $4,000. That's you're walking out. You got a 50 millimeter on your M10 for 10 grand. I mean, it's like, oh my God, where you can get that all day long for, 1,500 to 2,000 on an X Pro 2. And it's going to do a hell of a lot more than your Leica will, but it is what it is. Mark H. Thanks for tuning in, Mark. Since I shoot more film, I chimp way less on digital. Yeah, I think, again, that goes back to what I said. If you can dial in your images correctly on film and really learn how to do photography, how to expose, you don't need to work that hard when you shoot digital. Now, I think it's a different thing. When I shoot film, I expose for shadows, and I expose for shadows and I scan for shadow detail. when I shoot for digital, I kind of I'm not so concerned about darker shadows because a lot of the exposure, the latitude that we get with digital sensors now in dynamic range, I can pull shadows enough to where, again, if I'm looking at a black shirt, I just want a little bit of the shadow. I don't care about if it's real dark here. I just want a little bit so you can see the texture of what it is. I don't need to expose all of it. So I tend to try to rescue the highlights a little bit because you blow the highlights on a digital camera. Sensors on digital cameras for highlights sometimes are really hard to recover, to the point of where you start getting everything else that gets a little wonky when you're dealing with, like, shadows and whatnot. Green Fantini, Fuji has the best split second chimp in the EVF, whereas Nikon takes about 3 seconds and miss shots. I can only take your word for it. I haven't shot any of the Nikon mirrorless. I do, like I said, I do like to, when I am chimping, for lack of a better term, I do like to do it through the EVF. And, kind of, I think you see a better image. I think you get more of a true color because you're blocking all the ambient light around you. Same here. Most of my personal work is film. Yeah, I love shooting film. Like I said, mostly for personal stuff. I said that because I see, I said that because I see many people purchase monster cameras and they don't actually need them. Most of them just want some pictures for their food. Hold on. You guys are good, man. It's a fun conversation. It's the first time I ever did Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and that's probably because I just didn't have the following. But I don't have a ton of people logged on here right now, but I appreciate you guys talking and sparking a conversation. I love talking photography, any kind of photography. I'm into it. But yeah, there are people that just go out there and will buy things and they have no idea what they're doing or if that's even needed. And Sony is just very good at catering to those people. They launch a new camera every 6 months, it seems like. I could be exaggerating, but that's what it feels like to me. So, the people that have an A7 II feel obsolete already. And, so they're making money off of it. I had some issues with Sony, but I do understand their business model, and I do understand, their dominance in certain aspects of photography, mainly video. And, AF tracking, I think that they kind of know what they're doing with that, but I'm not a fan of their colors. And I'm not a fan of their build quality either. But that's just me. But regardless, yeah, people do go out and buy cameras. They don't understand what they're buying. The other issue that we have sometimes too, and I'm not really, I'm not going to cry about it because it doesn't take money out of my pocket. I have a steady following of clients that come to me every year and refer me. I shoot predominantly weddings and portrait sessions, and I also shoot for businesses doing food photography and product photography. And my passion and my love is to shoot street photography, which I'm really hoping to one day start doing some workshops and at least maybe start with some photo walks. I really want to do photo walks where I start doing things where, we go out to Philly or New York and we just meet up, a group of us, and we just shoot some street photography. And if that turns into maybe paid workshops, then that would be amazing. If it doesn't, I'm still doing something I love. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you guys are close to New York City, or even Philadelphia is even closer to me, I think that would be awesome if guys would come out, and guys and girls, whoever, and shoot. And, if I can help in any way, I will. Or maybe I'll learn something from you, I'm sure. I am definitely not the most experienced shooter out there by far, but I know what I know. And, my results kind of speak for themselves, whether people like them or not. I stand by what I do. But getting back to that, yeah, you get a lot of these photographers now too that they're real quick on buying cameras. Well, not even photographers. You get these people that go to Best Buy or an electronics store and they'll buy the kit camera, and the next thing you know, they're charging people money for photography. And I really don't think they have a business doing that. And, you know, if people are willing to pay the money and you're willing to shoot it, then, you know, all the world loves a fool. So, you know, I feel bad for them because I think they truly don't understand, you know, what they're purchasing when they're hiring these people. But, you know, we get a lot of it. We see a lot of it all the time. Whenever I go to my local places to shoot where I like to bring my clients, I see the person with the, you know, the kit lens straight out of the store, and they're charging money, I'm sure. And it's like, okay, I understand. But no Nikon SLRs, only chimp in a bad light, gray, cloudy, rainy, which sun drives me nuts. Yunan, my passion is also for street photography. I feed gears by shooting wedding. Yeah, wedding pays. Wedding, you know, you get wedding clients, they pay. It's an emotional response. It's definitely a needed thing. A lot of people will try to cut your prices down and try to get you to take less for your talent, and you shouldn't sacrifice what you believe you're worth just to get a job. And I get that I'm saying that for somebody that has a decent career and makes it a really good living doing what I do, and has this on the side. But I don't want to see you sell yourself short and then wondering why you can't make more money when people are like, oh, well, that's Joe. If you go to him and you talk to him, you know, you're never going to have to pay that price. He always gives you a deal. And you're never going to make it. You're never going to get up to where you're worth. If you sit there and you learn to say no, then when you do get jobs, you're going to do a better job. You're going to get better images. You're going to be more in the moment because you're going to say, I'm being paid what I'm worth. I get everybody has to start somewhere. I'm not saying if you're beginning. When you're beginning, you take some jobs, you get your feet wet, you learn if this is what you want to do, you create some content. You got to look at these people like it's a trade. It's like they're getting married and they're trusting you to take images. You do a good job, but you're also going to get to use their images to promote yourself. So maybe you start out and you make a little less money. But what do you think when Fujifilm releasing 35 film camera, since there are a lot of people who get into that again, but with no moderate prices for new gear? Wouldn't that be nice? I would absolutely love to see a current camera company really dive in and produce a film camera. Now let's go one step further. The all-time holy grail of every wedding photographer, specifically who lives in Southern California with beautiful light every day at sunset, is always standing there with a picture of themselves in a desert with a Contax 645. It's a Contax 645. It's basic AF, medium format with an 80 millimeter f2 lens. Why can't somebody reproduce that camera? Because if you have to buy a used one, it's $3,500 to $4,500. Guarantee it breaks, or you're going to have film flatness issue in the back, and it's not going to be focusing correctly, and your scans are going to come back looking like they're on a tilt shift lens. Why can't somebody reproduce that camera at a decent cost? They'll kill the market. I mean, come on, let's Kickstarter this thing. You're going to blow the industry out of the water if you can reproduce that camera. Kind of street events, give me a protest, parades. Yeah, I mean, I try to stay away from crowds like that. I mean, I just shot that New York one. I shot, what was it? I was at the Feast of San Gennaro in New York City, and that was crowd enough for me. I don't do good in crowds, man. I get bumped around, I start getting angry, and like I can't. I'm not claustrophobic. I just too many people. Just I gotta be. I'm like the guy that's on the outside of things. I don't like being in the center. Agree with that. People always want to get free images from you. Most likely, they don't understand the effort you pay. Yeah, the only thing you can do is have the belief that your work is worth the price. Yeah, definitely. you can't sell yourself short. It's a hole you'll never get out of. It's too tough. And people are always going to, oh, you do photography, right? Oh, my friend's good at taking pictures. Oh, you have a nice camera. We've heard it a million times. It's not even that, man. It's, you can give a professional photographer, a cell phone, and he's going to give you a gorgeous image compared to anybody else. It's just, again, it's selling yourself short. You got to really be careful of that stuff. Definitely. Let's see. Sorry if I'm looking down. I'm looking at these comments when they come in. All right, guys. Well, I think that was a really successful first live stream. We're going for 50 minutes now. Had some people check in, and I really appreciate all the conversation and the back and forth. It means the world to me. It means that I'm on track with what I'm doing. Like I said, please subscribe. Please check out the other videos if you can. Definitely head over to the website and check out some of my blogs. I go into more depth, and I love typing. I'm not an English major, but I type from the heart. I write from the heart, and I try to talk about a real thing. So I hope that you guys get that from me. And like I said, look forward to more things. I definitely want to do more of these, and I definitely want to get into doing some kind of photo walks. So I don't know where you guys are actually located, but if you guys are close to New York City, if you're close to Philadelphia, I'm in New Jersey. That would be awesome if we can kind of, get a whole group of people up and just go out for the day, shoot, grab some lunch, grab a beer or two, and just talk photography and get some good street photography. And very good. Thank you, Great Vanzini. Thank you for checking in. A nice talk. Back to the topic. I want an X100F with a better lens. Yeah, what's bad about the lens? I mean, F2 isn't bad. I know people are like, well, it's not good if you try to go close up. If you shoot it at F4 and you shoot close with F4, it's really sharp. Trust me. Great Vanzini, Oregon. Well, I guess you're not coming. You're not coming to New York. I hope to make it out to LA one day, but even that's far. Seattle, yeah, you guys are real close to each other, and you guys go shoot street photography, and I'll check out your images when you post them up. All right, guys. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot, and we'll do another one of these soon.